story. 1965. 1965 was the year that legally the constitutional rights of incarcerated people were first observed and acknowledged. 1965 was the first time the constitutional rights of incarcerated people were first acknowledged, thanks to the organizing that the black Muslims did on the inside. Woo! How is it in 2021 we are still fighting to acknowledge the constitutional rights of all incarcerated people? Now, to acknowledge Malik Washington's case. Malik Washington is the editor of SF Bayview National Block newspaper. Give it up! They have been around for 45 years, nearly half a century in providing revolutionary journalism. Big up! Now, Malik is a resident here at 111 Taylor Street. There have been numerous COVID outbreaks at 111 Taylor, as there has been in all carceral institutions since the start of the pandemic. We know they've been covering them up. We know what they want to keep people on the inside. We know that we've observed hundreds of deaths across the California state prison system. Malik Washington, being the editor of SF Bayview National Block newspaper, received a public memo describing a COVID outbreak inside this facility, which houses 240 people. Half of them come from the California state prison system, and half of them come from the Federal Bureau of Prisons. This facility is owned by the Geo Group, all right? Like many private jails, ICE detention facilities, and detention centers across California. This is a for-profit prison corporation. They make $2 billion every year in revenue, okay? So Malik Washington, being a journalist, released this memo announcing a COVID outbreak. He shared it with a professional acquaintance, Tim Redmond of 48 Hills, who subsequently followed this story and contacted the director of 111 Taylor Street, which was his constitutional right, as it was Malik's to share that memo. Immediately, Malik's phone was seized. It was stolen from him. They put a gag order on Malik. They put a gag order denying a journalist his constitutional right to freedom of speech. And Malik Washington sued back. His attorney, Richard Tan, is here today. They sued the Geo Group and they sued the Federal Bureau of Prisons to get his phone back and to have the gag order lifted and restore his constitutional rights as a working journalist. And what did they do in response? They retaliate, as they always do. They started digging into Malik's past. They held him accountable for a protest that he attended in December at UC Hastings, when they were arguing against the 500 unhoused people that were being moved in an agreement between Mayor London Breed and UC Hastings. Once again, removing our unhoused population and pushing them on and out.
It's just not staged really well, can you?
Okay, all right. Okay. So Malik attended this protest in December as a working journalist of SF Bayview. They sponsored the rally that was organized by Poor Magazine. And he spoke at the protest on behalf of SF Bayview newspaper. And they reported on the protest on behalf of SF Bayview newspaper, as he did as a working journalist. Now they've taken that speech that he made, they've accused him of escape, which is a serious charge prison. They've charged him escape for doing his job as a working journalist, which he had a work pass to do. We wanted to start this rally by playing the 2-minute clip that Malik Washington, his speech at the rally that day, that they're charging him for escape with, because Malik is an advocate of social justice, and he speaks to that in this speech here.
I'll talk to the people. Peace and blessings, sisters and brothers. My name is Malik Washington. I'm the new editor of the San Francisco Bayview National Newspaper. I don't know if many of you are aware, but there has been a coordinated attack against homeless people here in the Tenderloin specifically. There seems to be some collusion and conspiratorial practices between the office of Mayor London Breed and University of California, Hastings School of Law. So now we have an institution of lawyers who actually have a history of, this building has a history of turning out some very reputable and prominent civil rights and human rights lawyers. So here, the upper echelon administration files a lawsuit against homeless people. And then they claim within the body of their lawsuit that their constitutional rights, equal protection under the law, are being violated by homeless people. Listen. So we have to do a very analytical, we have to pull out a microscope and look exactly why has London Breed capitulated. It's almost as if there was a backroom deal going on. Here, you go ahead and file that lawsuit, University of California, Hastings College of Law, file that, and you know what? We know that it's laughable. We know that any judge with any integrity is going to throw it out once they look at the body of the lawsuit. But you know what? We are going to offer you a settlement. And that settlement is going to include 2 blocks of Tenderloin real estate. We are going to offer you increased police presence. We are going to hire a private security firm to police, degrade, dehumanize the homeless population here. Something is wrong in San Francisco. I am the editor of a national black newspaper. I don't hate black people. I don't hate brown people. I don't hate LGBTQI people. I don't hate indigenous people. And my actions speak louder than words. So London Breed, what do your actions say?
Protest that Malik spoke at that day. We got Poor Magazine in the house today. Tireless advocates for the most marginalized communities. So that speech, all right, they're charging Malik for escape, which should again send him back to prison for exercising his constitutional rights and for working as a journalist. Malik's doing everything he should. He's working, he has an honorable job, he's following all the rules, but this is how punitive and retaliatory the carceral state is. And of course, halfway houses, reentry facilities, any detention centers are only extensions of the oppressive, brutal carceral state. All right? So next up, we're going to kick off this rally with Nube Brown. This is Malik Washington's personal and professional partner, chair of the Malik Washington Defense Committee, and managing editor at SFPU National Black Newspaper. All right, I want to say thank you, everyone, for coming out here. We are surrounded by love. We are surrounded by the people. That's right, the people. All of you just heard Brother Malik speak on important human rights issues. For me, this is a human rights issue. Malik, I love you. You are my partner, my professional partner, and my personal partner. And I want everyone to know that. Because
When they are violating his right to speak, they are criminalizing his passion. They are criminalizing his right to be free, his right to live his life, and that is what is happening to all the brothers and sisters inside. Baby, I love you. I love you. For being able to speak up and take the hit for everybody else inside there. Know that we have you. We have your back. All of you. All these people that you see out here, this is the people. And the people demand right now. Down with these systems that try to destroy your dreams. Down with the people. These systems. Down with these systems that continually interrupt your right to heal. Your right to be drug-free. Your right to live your dreams. Your right to be with your families. These systems are destroying our communities, our people, our families. It is Sunday. Everybody, look around you, everybody. We're out here in the sunshine. Okay? For all of you in there, you can hear us. We got your back. It is Sunday, and you are locked inside because you don't get a day off. Why don't you get a day off? Because this system says that you are an exploitable body. For Malik and all of you under the federal program, $19,000 Geo gets a month to keep y'all in there. You are not a prophet. We love you. And all these people have your back. So they're saying these systems, down with these systems that say you don't have a right to have a day off. You don't have a right to be a person that can take a stroll in the sunshine, eat some good food with your people. Okay? Down with these dehumanizing systems, down with Geo Group, down with the California prisons, down with all of the prisons, abolish prisons now, Geo out of California. Malik Washington, I love you, and I know that you represent what's going on with all the brothers and sisters inside, and know that all the power resides with the people. This is us. We will make this change. I love you. I love you, Malik Washington. So let's give a big round of applause for Mary and Willie Radcliffe, who are standing right here. They're in their 80s. They're holding the SF Bayview banner. This power couple took over the Bayview after its inception 45 years ago. They took it over 30 years ago. And they've been continuing the newspaper in an ever gentrifying city, keeping Black voices alive. They have always worked to amplify the voices of the incarcerated. So let's give a big round of applause for Mary and Willie standing right here. Woo! Up next, we have Richard Tan, who's coming to speak. This is Malik's attorney who is representing him in court. Everybody keep a lookout to pack the court on Zoom. This is happening March 10th, Wednesday, 9:30 a.m.
Because Malik can't be here with us today, I'd like to spend a few minutes telling you about who he is and why it is that as I came to know him, I came to respect him so very much. Malik has been a reporter for 20 years. He became political when he was in prison, and he started reporting for the Bayview back in 2013. He reported on arsenic in the drinking water at the prison, deadly heat in the prisons that was killing the prisoners, as well as abuse that was being committed by prison staff against elderly and disabled people. He reported on the prison strikes in 2016 and 2018. He also participated in organizing those strikes. Back in 2018, there was a strike at the Lee County Correctional Institution in New Mexico. That is a Geo Group-owned facility. And 200 prisoners went on strike at the Northwest Detention Center over in Tacoma in Washington, and that was also a Geo-run ICE detention facility, just like the Taylor Street Center. Because of his work, Malik was put into administrative segregation. That's solitary confinement. He was made to strip naked when he had to take a shower, and he was videoed with a digital camera whenever he did that. So that's the work that Malik has done all through his life, and that's the path that he's been on. And when I look at what Malik is doing, I think of another great black revolutionary journalist, Mumia Abu-Jamal. Thank you. Mumia, just like Malik, has been in prison for almost 40 years now, and now he has COVID and may die in prison for doing the same thing that Malik has been doing, reporting on what's really happening to black people in this country. It's wrong what happened to Malik. When the COVID outbreak started at the Taylor Street Center in January, Malik knew that people were coming out of the facility into the community all around us. And he also knew that Mary and Willie are in their 80s, and if they caught COVID, it could be fatal for them. He had the Bayview write an article about the COVID outbreak, and for that, he's been retaliated against by the Taylor Street Center. He may lose his job, and he may be transferred out of the facility. It's wrong what happened to him. This issue is not going to be resolved in the courts. I'm sure Malik would say the real change happens in the street. It's what all of you are doing here today, right now, right here. And I want to thank you all for coming out here today. Thank you very much.
We have District 6 Supervisor Matt Haney. Matt, this is District 6 where we're standing right now. And what's amazing about this demonstration is we got revolutionary journalists, we've got radical activists, we've got political support, we've got SF public defenders, we've got Alameda County public defenders in the house. So let's give a big round of applause for Matt Haney, y'all.
How's everybody doing? You doing good? Make some noise so Malik can hear us. Make some noise if you think that everyone in our community deserves human rights. Make some noise if you support journalists. I want to be clear about something right now, which is that we have a member of our community, someone who lives in this neighborhood, someone who is contributing to our city, to our community, who's speaking out to make things better, being retaliated against by a private corporation and want to lock him back up. Does that sound all right to you? Malik, I've gotten to know Malik over the last few months. I've worked with him. I've come to be friends with him. And he's also gotten my ear. I'm a political elected official, and journalists have the right and responsibility to tell us when we're not doing right, to call us out, to say when government is not doing the right thing by its residents, and he has done that. That is the right that he has under our Constitution and as a journalist. And for him to be retaliated against, for a private prison profiteer company to try to lock him up because of that, I can think of nothing more shameful. I can think of nothing that violates people's human rights more than trying to lock somebody up for simply speaking out. The SF Bayview newspaper is one of the most important newspapers and voices in our city. It is a national voice that speaks truth to power. Their journalists have spoken out about the violation of human rights and the radiation on Treasure Island. They've spoken out about the ways in which prison profiteers have locked folks up and violated their rights. They've spoken about gentrification. They've fought for the black community at a time when this community has been under attack. And Malik is in that tradition. He has taken that mantle and continued it. And because of that, they have come after him. And I want to say in particular, because of where we are standing right now, this is the Tenderloin. This is the Tenderloin, a community that embraces people, that fights for human rights, that fights for disenfranchised people. This building that this prison company is in has a history. You know about this building. This building, this corner, if you look at here, it will tell you. This building is the home and the site of the Compton's Cafeteria riots, right here. Where transgender people said, you're not going to come at us, you're not going to lock us up, you're not going to violate our rights, you're not going to throw police at us when we're just trying to be here and exist. And that is the continuation of the fight that we have right now. So I want to just lastly say to Malik, to everyone who lives in 111 Taylor, I'm your district supervisor. I represent this area on the Board of Supervisors. And I see you, we value you, you are a part of our community, and we will fight like hell to protect you, Malik, and the rights of everyone in this building. Thank you.
To tell us more, we have Susan Stryker, historian, filmmaker, and Barbara Lee, distinguished chair in women's leadership at Mills College. Once again, Susan Stryker.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being out here. It is so wonderful to see you all and so many people in the streets, because whose streets are these? These are our streets. Whose streets? Our streets. Yeah, I want to thank Supervisor Haney for pointing out the history of Compton's Cafeteria. I have a very nerdy sounding job. I'm a historian. I was one of the people who helped recover the history of what happened here in August of 1966, 3 years before Stonewall. Trans women in the Tenderloin fought back against police oppression, collectively, together, to say these streets are our streets. This building right here on the ground floor of 111 Taylor, it's called Compton's Cafeteria. It's where people would come at night to get out of the cold, to get out of the wet, to hang out with their friends, to show off their tricks, to show that they survived the night. It's like this was their home. This was like their chill-out zone, and the cops would come in here, harass them repeatedly, and one night they stood up and they pushed back and they made history. Just like we're making history and pushing back against Geo Group's occupation of this building. So we're here to support Malik in particular today. We're here to support everybody who's a resident in this building. We see you, and we think it is an obscenity that in this historic site of trans resistance to police oppression and to the carceral system, that it is occupied for profit by a group like Geo Group. Geo Group has got to go. I'm going to hand over the microphone now to my sister, Jupiter Peraza, who works for the Tenderloin District. If you see these signposts around here with the pink, white, and blue stripes on it, that's marking this space as like transgender turf. There is a city-funded, first time in the world, city-funded district celebrating and honoring trans lives. And Jupiter is here to talk about that. Thank you, Dr. Stryker.
And this intersection holds so much history that I am so proud to represent as a member of the Transgender Cultural District, the world's first transgender district, honoring what happened here August of 1966, where we are standing one night in that August. Chairs, dishes, and sugar saucers went flying in the air as trans people were protesting police abuse. And over 60 years now, we are here again to protest that same police abuse. There are so many reasons why being here means a lot to me. One of them being the transgender history in this corner. The second being that I am a DACA recipient, and what the Geo Group is doing here in this building is also affecting the lives of thousands of immigrants in the border, children, innocent families being separated at the border for exploitation to meet a quota. That is not right. And we are here I am representing both of those diasporas to demand that Geo Group leave the Tenderloin. There were so many things that happened in the 2020 election, but not enough to make a difference. Yet we are here because we persevere and we want change. We want to make a difference. And I am so happy and so excited and so honored to be standing with you all here today to denounce the injustices that no longer have a place in our society. Thank you, everyone.
All right, y'all, when I say Geo out, you say of Cali. Geo out! Geo out! Geo out! Geo out! When I say free, you say Malik. Free! 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 All right, next up we've got Jeremy Miller coming out from Poor Magazine. This is a truth seeker, freedom fighter, and he's going to be breaking down the BOP for us today.
Name's Jeremy Miller. I'm with Poor Magazine. I'm also a longtime writer for the San Francisco Bayview National Black newspaper. And I'm also out here repping the Bay Area chapter of Black Alliance for Peace that stands in solidarity with Malik Washington and all of our prisoners. Now, I got a few words to say today about the BOP, but before that, I want to honor the fact that we are here for Malik, and we're here because Malik never limited it to himself. We're here today because Malik was standing up for the people. And so if you please join me on this little chant here, we go, free Malik, but that's not all. Keep on pushing, free them all. Free Malik, but that's not all. Keep on pushing, free them all. Free Malik, but that's not all. Keep on pushing, free them all. Free Malik, but that's not all. Keep on pushing. Now, a lot of people have spoken already on the grave human rights violations that have precipitated our being here today. So I'm not going to belabor the point. Others will probably speak to this. I'm going to speak specifically on the constitutional violations of the Bureau of Prisons in pursuing this course. Number one, the Bureau of Prisons is not within its right to stifle First Amendment protections of prisoners absent a compelling government interest that they do not have. And you ever hear the term triple threat? Right? Singer, dancer, actor? Well, they have essentially conducted a triple threat to our First Amendment rights, and specifically to Malik's First Amendment rights. They have violated his right to free speech. They have violated his constitutional right to assembly, and they have violated the constitutional right to a free press. All three. This is the legal platform that they're standing on. Let's talk about something else. They claim, the Bureau of Prison claims to be able to do this because they do. We admit, frankly, prisoners are routinely deprived of rights. And there is an unfortunate power imbalance often exerted between prison administrators and authorities and people that are incarcerated. But even if they succeed with that shit-eating argument, they have no right to violate the constitutional protections of free people. And guess what? Dialogue is a two-way street. When Malik is operating in his capacity as editor of a national paper, when he is speaking at a rally, when he is providing us with information that directly implicates the safety and health of ourselves, and particularly our elderly and infirm population, our constitutional rights are implicated, and because of this, Geo Group and the Bureau of Prisons has no leg to stand on. This is constitutionally infirm, it's arbitrary and capricious, and they need to get on with it. Decarcerate our voice, free our prisoners, and get the hell out of California. Thank you.
Love the call to free them all. We love the call to free them all. Now, we know that just getting out of for-profit prison corporations to California is not going to cure us of the wounds that public prisons cause, right? We know that. We know that we do want to free them all. We know that the carceral state, whether private or public, is incredibly damaging, racist, classist, and oppressive all around. But when Geo Group contests AB 32, which Assembly Member Rob Bonta passed, that would do away with for-profit prison corporations in California, and Geo Group is currently litigating against it, contending that they would lose $15 million annually. My God, how will we sleep at night if Geo Group loses $15 million annually? We will sleep damn fine is how we will be sleeping. We will be sleeping just fine. And that's why we got to attack this disgusting carceral state from every side, and it begins with for-profit prisons. All right, next up, we have Arian Harrison, founder of the Marie Harrison Community Foundation, who has been advocating for the Bayview Hunters Point community for such a long time. Can we live? All we're asking in our community is, can we live? Every day, our people be streamlined into the prison system. Black and brown bodies. Black and brown bodies. Streamlined from school systems, streamlined from community corner blocks and parks into the prison system. Whether you committed a crime or not, do you know that you're guilty until proven innocent in my community? You are guilty, assumed guilty, until proven innocent. If there's a description of somebody running down the street that is African American, is it a tall black man? Is it a small black man? I wonder, what's next? What's going to happen with my sons? I'm a mother of two African American males. I'm a grandmother of two African American males. We are being criminalized every single day as we breathe. We are a community that is birthed on struggle. Our struggle is real, but so is the powers that will help us overcome it. We need all of you, and I'm so glad that you're here to support my brother Malik in the struggle. Because without his voice, that means they can silence him, they can silence us all. How about that? If they can silence Malik, they can silence us all. If we're out here fighting, what is it all for? Well, we have big corporations that come into our communities and they profit off our black, brown, and white bodies. How could that go down? It's not just happening here in California, it's happening across the world. But guess what? If they're making big dollars and they are paying politicians off to look the other way, then what are we standing here for? What are we fighting for? Free Malik. Free Malik. Can we live? When I say can we live, say can we live? Can we live? That stop begging for our existence and fight for our freedoms that we should have coming to us through the Constitution. Can we live?
My name is Ariane Harrison, and I'm coming live to you from the TL about the Bayview community and other communities of color that have been marginalized, to not just chemical warfare, but also battling COVID as well. Imagine that. They don't care about us, but we do. We do. We do. We do. We do. We care. We care. Can we live? Can we live? Can we live?
So ACLU of Northern California is a sponsor of this rally. They could not be here today, but we have a wonderful recording from Raquel Ortega, organizer with the ACLU.
Hello everyone. My name is Raquel Ortega and I'm an organizer with the ACLU of Northern California. It is imperative that California immediately end all contracts with private prison corporations, including Geo Group, whose model is profiting off of the human misery of incarceration, including detention of undocumented immigrants. Over the past several decades, immigration detention has become our nation's newest system of mass incarceration for Black and brown people. Today in California alone, there are about 5,600 people held in immigration detention. Most of the immigration detention centers in California are owned by private corporations. It's important for people to know that the majority of these beds are filled by people awaiting trial, meaning that people are locked up before they even have had the opportunity to make a case before a judge. Many languish in detention for months and years for no other reason than to pursue legal avenues to remain in this country, only to win their cases and ultimately be allowed to remain in the United States. Even people who have won their cases before the immigration judge sometimes continue to be detained pending ICE's appeal of those decisions, which can last for years. The COVID-19 pandemic has only highlighted the cruelty of these centers. This past year, the death toll in ICE custody reached levels not seen in 15 years, and the use of force, including pepper spray, physical force, and rubber bullets, also increased. Lack of adequate medical and mental health care has resulted in serious harm to detained people, including loss of life. The COVID-19 pandemic also shows that a different way is possible. ICE has reduced the average daily population by nearly 70% from its peak level under the Trump administration, in part due to COVID-19 related lawsuits. While ICE can and must continue to reduce detention even more, what this year's massive reduction already shows is that the vast majority of detained immigrants can be released immediately. We applaud Malik Washington for shining a light on the injustices he has experienced under the control of prison profiteer Geo Group. And we stand with all who suffer at the hands of for-profit detention centers. We urge our elected officials to end this costly and cruel system by shutting down detention centers immediately and cutting all contracts with for-profit prison corporations. Thank you.
Big up to Raquel Ortega from ACLU of Northern California for sending that through. When I say abolish, you say ICE. Abolish! 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 All right, and to speak more to that, next up we have Sandy Valenciano, who has provided much support to this protest today. Sandy comes from the Immigrant Legal Resource Center and also the Dignity Not Detention Coalition.
Hello everyone. My name is Sandy and I am a community organizer with the Immigrant Legal Resource Center and the Dignity Not Detention Coalition. For many years we've been joining forces in the state of California to end immigrant prisons. In 2019 we were victorious in passing AB 32, which aims to phase out private prisons by 2028. As of 2020, there are no new contracts allowed for private prisons. However, our very same Governor Gavin Newsom, who signed AB 32, also sat by and allowed find out how you can plug in more to efforts. Let's shut down prisons. Let's kick Geo out of California and all private prison companies. Free Malik! When I say free, you say Malik. Free! 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 Right, next up, we have Hadi Razak of the SF Public Defender's Office. Now, for those that don't know, we need y'all to go visit wearedefender.com. They have just created an incredible arts and media branch where they are releasing documentaries about the injustices that their clients face. And their first debut documentary was 111 Taylor. It's a short doc, 11 minutes. If you haven't seen how foul it is inside here, please go and watch it. Big up for Hadi.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
My colleagues and I at the San Francisco Public Defender's Office represent clients who are forced to live in this building. People who are seeking, after they're released from state prison, after completing their sentences, people who are seeking safety and dignity, education and employment opportunities, meaningful reentry support, and the hope for freedom and a chance to reconnect with their families and communities. But instead, all too often, what they face looks like exactly what they had inside prison. They're shackled like they're still inside the prison walls. Now, 111 Taylor Street and other halfway houses like 111 Taylor, these places are run by private prison companies that are scoring lucrative state contracts to run these places. Now, the private prison companies that are landing these huge contracts, what they're here to do is to take advantage of people. So what they've seen is there's these multi-billion-dollar corporations are seeing and capitalizing on a shift. And that shift is a slow one and it's a problematic one, but it's chasing dollars. And it's seeing a shift from mass incarceration to one that is mass incarceration and also mass supervision. These lucrative state contracts to provide reentry services. Now, that was long before COVID-19. Now, once there was COVID-19, they are mistreating people. And they are not only mistreating people, but they are also endangering the health and safety of people. The monetary incentive to fill beds and keep people in beds means that that these corporations, by keeping more people in beds, it leads to overcrowding. And that overcrowding has been plainly and dangerously exposed during the pandemic. We at the Public Defender's Office routinely witness clients who are blamed for what are systemic failures. Now in this place, in this building, there are people who have been crammed, multiple people into small rooms. People not allowed to wear masks for some period of time and not provided them. People who, this place has not allowed they've avoided testing. And they've avoided testing because they don't want to see the results. In addition to that, in a most problematic way for people like Malik Washington and our clients who are shown in the documentary film 111 Taylor Street during a pandemic, which I urge you to watch at wearedefender.com. They are put in the to make an impossible decision between violating parole and going back to prison by leaving this place, or staying here and being exposed to the deadly virus. We are calling for the release of Malik. We stand in solidarity with Malik Washington. We are calling for an end of state contracts with Geo Group and other private multi-billion-dollar corporations. When I say reveal truth, you say demand justice. Reveal truth. Reveal truth. Reveal truth. Okay, thank you.
All right, to talk about the effects of ICE on detained youth, we have here Gloria Jimenez and Stephanie Arzaga from Legal Services for Children.
Hello everyone, my name is Stephanie Arzaga and I'm an immigration attorney with Legal Services for Children. I'm privileged and blessed to work with undocumented youth in the community, but primarily with youth currently in detention. A lot of these youth have severe mental health issues and conditions because they have suffered severe trauma and extreme poverty in their home countries and on their journey to the United States. So for trying to flee the harm and pain and suffering that they experience in their home countries, they are further penalized when they enter this country and are placed in child cages and prisons for extended periods of time. And although these places are supposed to be temporary placements, sometimes youth are in these child prisons for years. And because they don't have community ties in the United States, and because their mental health is further deteriorating while they are detained, they are then transferred to adult prisons, ICE detention centers that are run by and profiting Geo Group. These youth have no means of leaving these facilities because when they go in front of the judge and they demand to be released, they are told that because their mental health is so bad that they are a danger to the community and should remain detained, and further harm and their mental health further deteriorates time and time again, unable to leave the cages and only being in cages during their very short time here in the United States. It's really hard for these young people to even attempt to think about their legal cases. And sometimes, unfortunately, a lot of these youth don't have the strength to fight for their cases. And sometimes their only form of relief and their only form of being or seeking some sort of freedom is to face the dangers that they initially fled from and go back to their home country. My colleague here, Gloria, will now speak on this and some of the youth that unfortunately have requested to be removed and returned to their countries.
My name is Gloria Jimenez, and I am a social worker at Legal Services for Children. I work alongside with Stephanie for children, youth, and young adults detained in the immigration custody and beyond that. So I'm going to also say this in Spanish, by the way. Mi nombre es Gloria Jimenez y soy una trabajadora social en servicios legales para jóvenes. Trabajo con Stephanie para jóvenes menores de edad y adultos detenidos en custodia de inmigración y más allá de eso también. I am going to share part of a letter a young adult wrote to me earlier this year. We first met him in detention in 2017 when he was a minor and he had just entered the U.S. He experienced detention in multiple facilities both in California and Texas. At the age of 19, in the month of January of 2021, sitting in ICE custody, he felt he could no longer take it. He knew that asking for removal meant he would most likely be killed in home country upon arriving. However, he also felt that he was slowly dying here anyways, being in detention. Voy a compartir parte de una carta que me escribió un adulto en el comienzo de este año. Lo conocimos por primera vez en el 2017 en una detención cuando él era menor de edad y acababa de entrar a los Estados Unidos. Él estuvo detenido en varias detenciones en los Estados Unidos, en California y en Texas. A los 19 años, en enero del 2021, detenido en custodia de inmigración, sintió que él ya no podía más con todo esto. Él sabía que al pedir su deportación significaba que lo más probable sería matado en su país al llegar, pero también sentía que estar aquí se estaba muriendo de cualquier manera estando detenido. Pero la verdad no me toca de otra. sí, la verdad me duele mucho llegar a mi país y solo llevar dolores de cabeza a mi familia. Pero no hay problema, Dios sabe lo que hace. Así como llegué a este país, así mismo me voy, sin nada. A lo mejor Dios tiene algo preparado para mi futuro. Ay, disculpe que le cuento todo esto, solo que usted es la única persona en la que yo puedo confiar. Espero un buen consejo. But the truth is, I have no other choice. Yes, the truth is it pays me to arrive to my country and only bring headaches to my family. But no problem, God knows what He does. Just how I arrived to this country, I leave with nothing. Maybe God has something planned, prepared for my future. Excuse me for telling you all this, it's just you are the only person I trust. I await for good advice. This young adult who entered as an unaccompanied child experienced the detention fatigue many children, youth, and young adults experience in immigration detention. This young adult was pushed out. He was removed and sent back to his home country in mid-February of 2021 after asking for removal 3 weeks before that. Upon arriving to his home country, he was arrested at the airport. The police claimed that since he had been deported from the U.S., he must have been a gang member in the U.S. They added him to the gang database and released him. After multiple encounters with the police, due to having been added to the database, this young soul knew that he was not safe in his home country. Once again, he was reliving the life-threatening situations he had fled from. The police had harmed him when he was a child. The last I heard from him was Friday, March 5th, when he was boarding a bus early in the morning to make his way out of his home country again, hoping to relocate 2 countries away. So, este adulto entró a los Estados Unidos no siendo acompañado y él pasó detenido demasiado tiempo, que él pasó por una fatiga psicológicamente y emocionalmente que muchas personas en detención de inmigración pasan por. A él lo forzaron de irse de aquí. Él fue removido del país en febrero del 2021, después de haber tenido su deportación 3 semanas antes de eso. Al llegar a su país, cuando llegó al aeropuerto, él fue arrestado por la policía. La policía dijo que porque él había sido deportado a los Estados Unidos, lo más probable era que él era un pandillero en los Estados Unidos. Entonces lo agregaron en el sistema, llamándolo pandillero en su país, y lo dejaron ir. Desde entonces la policía lo seguía buscando, arrestando, etc. Este adulto sabía que él ya no estaba seguro en su país y estaba enfrentándose otra vez las mismas situaciones de las cuales él se había oído cuando él era menor de edad. La policía igual le había hecho mucho daño cuando él era menor de edad. La última vez que hablé con él fue el viernes de la semana pasada. Él estaba abordando un bus para irse de su país otra vez y esperando poder vivir en otro país, 2 países lejos de en donde él nació. This is not a unique situation. We see this often where many individuals are pushed out because of detention, and we know that GEO profits from having individuals detained. Thank you. Gracias.
Let's give a big round of applause for Alameda County Public Defender Brendan Woods, who's come here to support today.
Thank you for having me here today. So I've got to tell you, when I first heard about the situation here, I thought it was a San Francisco issue. I thought it was something over here happening in 111 Taylor. I'm Alameda County. I need to stay in my lane. Then the more I learned about what's happening here to Malik, the more I learned about what's happening here across here, I realized this is not just a San Francisco issue. This is an issue for anyone who cares about people. This is an issue for anyone who cares about black and brown people. This is an issue for anyone who cares about the way our system has prosecuted, caged, controlled people. We have seen this happen over and over again, the way the government has failed us during this pandemic. But it has failed those who have been impacted by the carceral system the most. We have seen how our government has tried to silence the voice of our black leaders. We've seen that with Malik. We've seen that with the other Malik. I'm talking about Malik al-Shabazz. Also, there's Malcolm X. We've seen that with Martin. We've seen that with Fred. We've seen that with Huey. We've seen that with Angela. And now is the time to make sure our black voices are heard. We've seen the government try to use incarceration to silence us. Now guess what? We will not be silenced. Now is the time to uplift, honor, and to value the voices of incarcerated people. So, I want to actually think about it. Think about what Malik's been punished for. Punished for speaking up against COVID, right? And what we know that over 50,000 people in prison have contracted the disease. And over 100 people in prison have died from COVID. He should not be punished. He should be rewarded. He should be honored. He's treated as a hero. But what have we done? So, I'm here today. I came across the bay to show my support for Malik. I came across the bay to condemn Geo. I came across the bay to show my support for community. So I'm going to say free, you say Malik. Free, Malik, free, Malik, free, Malik. I'm going to say freedom, you say all. Freedom, all. Freedom, all.
Powerful words, and so important to recognize the persecution that Malik Washington is facing. Malik Washington, who coming out of prison immediately began a paid job as an editor of a newspaper. He has always been committed to excellent investigative journalism. He did it on the inside, and he's doing it now on the outside-ish. Because this isn't really outside when you're inside here, is it? We gotta fight for good paying jobs for our incarcerated community when they are coming out of prison. And Malik has that. And they're still not happy. What will make them happy? But you know what? We have such beautiful support today. Progressive San Francisco DA Chesapeake could not be here today, but he did send a letter of support. And Malik Washington's partner, again, managing editor as of Baby, Nube Brown, is going to be reading Chesapeake's letter of support.
Yes, all power to the people, because really, it's all the power of the people that's going to make this change, okay? We have to stop thinking that we have anything to prove to these people. They only have our worst interest at heart. They only have their interest at heart. Remember that, okay? We are going to claim this narrative. We want our people in our community. We want Malik home. We are not going to continue to prove to them anything. We've proven it to each other. So I am going to read this, but I want to say one thing on top of what Malik has done. And this is representative of the other people that are inside. He's made it clear. He said, please say, it's not just about me. It's about all those brothers and sisters that are in there. It's about all the brothers and sisters and our siblings that are behind the walls. This is just emblematic. He's willing to take the hit. He can. And part of it is, and I want everybody inside to know this, we got you. You are not in this alone. And all these people are out here. This is why we can make this happen. Malik has a job, okay? He has a meaningful job that he loves. It's not just a job. This is meaningful employment. And he leaves this place having to be patted down, and he has to go back to this place being patted down before he can get inside. And so these kinds of, again, this is dehumanizing. This is a human rights issue. It is a human rights crisis that we are in, okay? He's never rewarded. None of these people are honored, right, and celebrated for when they come back on time, right? They're never celebrated for when they find their job. They're not celebrated when they have a community of support or a loved one. No, they don't. The BOP has denied Malik home confinement. He's paying on an apartment with me, and he can't be there. He has to come back to this place. And he's not the only one. All kinds, there are hundreds of people in there that can't get home confinement. Because why? Because they're just a body to be exploited. Okay, that's right. The money. Okay, sorry, I'm taking up time that I know is supposed to go to other people. Okay. Chesabudin, thank you, brother. The last 4 years have shown the need for ensuring that people, especially those in the press, are free and able to tell truth to power. Remember, you have the right to speak truth to power. This is especially so when it comes to issues of public safety, including protecting those who are incarcerated or in post-incarceration, restricted living situations from COVID outbreaks. It is deeply concerning when people like Malik Washington, who are devoted to truth-telling, are targeted precisely for trying to ensure that critical information is made public. That is our right to have that information, people. We must stand against attempts to target or prevent people like Malik from speaking out. We must ensure that the truth gets told to protect the vulnerable. Although I cannot be with you all in person, I wanted to send support to Malik and to everyone working to fight for racial justice, a free press, and safety for those affected by the criminal legal system. Thank you for your advocacy. In solidarity, Chesabudin.
Struggle is Pierre Lavoisier from the Haiti Action Committee.
Good afternoon, sisters and brothers. I'm honored to be with you this afternoon to stand in solidarity with our brother Malik Washington and to be in solidarity with the Bayview. And also, right on to the band, you can't have a movement or a revolution without music. Right on. So I want to say on behalf of the Haiti Action Committee, on behalf of people in Haiti who are in the streets right now as we speak, demonstrating in struggle for the liberation of Haiti, I want to express deep, deep, deep solidarity with Brother Malik Washington, who doesn't belong in jail. I want to raise also Brother Mumia Abu Jamal, who should be free as well as hundreds of others who are being kept illegally in prisons, unjustly in prisons. Why? Because they're afraid of their influence, they're afraid of their power, they're afraid of their political opinions, so they got to free all the political prisoners. They must be free. I want to say express happy birthday, belated birthday to Mary of the Bayview. We in Haiti hold the Bayview very dearly in our heart because at the time of the coup 2004 and before that and continuing since, the people of Haiti struggled. If it weren't for the Bayview, the massacres against communities in Haiti, the political prisoners of Haiti, nobody would know about them. But the Bayview took action. The Bayview exposed the terrible conditions in Haiti, not once, but over and over and over again. And as such, the Bayview was attacked repeatedly because of that. So I want to say hats off to Mary, hats off to the Bayview, hats off to Willie and the entire Bayview team. So now we have a strong, strong bond of solidarity, not just with the Bayview, but with people in struggle all over the community, here in the Bay Area and all over the U.S. Brother Malik did the right thing by exposing the conditions of COVID in the jails, of COVID in the community. He did what a journalist is supposed to do, and for that he is being punished. In Haiti, we have a number of journalists who are being killed because they have expressed similar opinions, strong opinions, and they have uncovered the monies that these people in Haiti have been stealing, monies destined for COVID treatment that is going into their pocket. And this is what's going on. I know the time is short, I don't want to keep going on and on, but in Haiti, our people are standing for their right to have a decent living, their right to have wages, their right to speak truth to power, the right to have the resources, their taxes, the resources of their community invested in them. And this is what the Bayview has been standing for all those many years. And that's why we need to keep the Bayview alive. And we need Brother Malik and Nube and the entire Bayview team to come out and continue the work of speaking truth to power, expressing our voices and not back down. So there shall be no retreat in this struggle. Finally, Brother Gerald reminded me just a minute ago. He said, you know, what Trump was trying to do here and what he did on January 6th, this is exactly what's going on in Haiti. Yet we haven't seen the outrage. Shame on the Biden administration because they are supporting the atrocities that are being committed against our brothers and sisters in Haiti. But at the same time, they are condemning what Trump has done. It's important that we understand the connections between our two struggles, one and the same. And as I'm wrapping up, thank you for giving me the nod to wrap up. Haiti is under occupation. It's under United States, United Nations occupations. The policies that are being implemented in Haiti, they are being implemented by the U.S., by the United Nations, under the control of the U.S. So this is why what's happening here is also it's coming from the same source. So I want to stop right now and say, free Malik! Free Malik! Free all the political prisoners! Long live the Bayview! Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pierre Labossiere of the Haiti Action Committee. We say no to U.S. imperialism. We say no to these sick capitalistic systems. But we do say yes to Mary Radcliffe's birthday.
On March 11th, it'll be 2 years when they drop me off at 111 Taylor. And ever since I left, I've done nothing but prosper. My name is William Palmer, co-founder of Life After Next, a nonprofit organization that helps returning citizens prepare for re-entry the day they step foot in a jail or a prison. We are developing an app to provide resources and to help them reunify with their families and to support those returning as they strive to be productive citizens in society and the job market. Life After Next is here in support of Malik's freedom. Assalamu alaikum, brother Malik. In addition of co-founding Life After Next, I'm a proud member and work under the leadership of all of us in none, and we believe in Malik's freedom. And they are others like him should be free. Supporting United players who embraced me when I came, I represent them too, because it takes the hood to save the hood. And on a side note, as the Sudanese from Balad al-Sudan, we stand in support of the Haitians, who was the first to have a revolution in the Western Hemisphere. Long live the revolution of Haiti. There's a long history of the Africans that came to support the indigenous people of this continent, and we stand proud with them always. We are asking the following of Geo: be more transparent. Work with entities and CBOs that want to come in and observe living conditions and administration. 2, listen to your residents and have representation of formerly incarcerated persons in your administrative settings and decision-making bodies. That will go a long ways in showing that you give a damn. 3, provide more freedom rather than cell time and confinement to rooms as you are doing now, and access to holistic services, highlighting opportunities for growth and development. 4, be a resource of self-reliance versus forced policies for profits. Allow your clients to control their resources so they can start managing their own lives. Give them back their dignity by teaching them how to support themselves or their families even through incarceration. Because this corporation also runs private prisons, not just transitional housing.
For the people, by the people.
5, and most importantly, stop attacking those who have the divine authority for all human beings to speak out for peaceful revolution. Free the journalists, free the voices, free the people that come for a purpose of change. We are here to free you, Malik. You can't silence the truth, and the truth shall set you free. So free Malik and all those that are speaking up for the better conditions and liberties of all. The parchment of paper that started this country said, "We the people." We know that it includes all of us, but we are here anyway because we demand to be a part of the change of this system. So we the people make up the government, corporations, organizations, departments, communities, support circles, and so forth. Legal or illegal, right or wrong, supportive or harmful. Don't hide behind desks, badges, titles, and positions and say it's not me. We together can work together to rid inhumane policies and replace them with dignifying ones. We can create laws to protect people that speak up on the job. So Jason, Kevin, we know you in there. Speak up, man. Maria, who does the federal side, speak up. While we are standing in unity to free Malik, we will stand always for those who are held in oppressive conditions. Free Malik! Free Malik! Free Malik! Assalamu alaikum, my brother.
So grateful to have Centro Legal de la Raza in the house today. Thank you so much to Desi Carrillo Lopez and Elena Vermeulen for coming from Centro Legal de la Raza.
My name is Desi Carrillo and I'm here with my colleague Elena Vermeulen. We are members of the Abolishing Immigration Detention Team at Centro Legal de la Raza. And we are very humbled to be here today with y'all on this fight to free them all, to free Malik. Thank you for showing up for this fight for a world without cages. For so many people, it's hard to envision a world without cages, but really that really just means a world where our communities get all the resources they need. The government chooses daily to invest money in these for-profit prisons, the ones like the ones that the Geo Group operates. Instead, all that money could be allocated to the community and to bring resources to the community. Instead of contributing to kidnapping our community members from their communities, They support this because this is what they do. The police, ICE, Geo, they kidnap community members from our families. The last 3 years working at Centro Legal de la Raza, we have worked with detained community members at Mesa Verde, a Geo-run facility down in Bakersfield. And community members have let us know how Geo and ICE have violated every aspect of their dignity. In the midst of an ongoing pandemic, our detained community members remain at risk every single day that they remain detained. Every single day that they remain detained in facilities with mold-infested bathrooms, lack of masks, lack of clean supplies, and no nutritious food. In the last year, folks inside of Mesa Verde have organized sit-ins, work stoppages, hunger strikes, and of course, Geo has retaliated. They shut down the tablets that they have access to in the only way they can communicate with their families, and the only way they can ask and put forward a medical attention request. Once again, directly putting community members at risk.
We have heard directly from detained folks in Mesa Verde. They fear that the only way they'll be coming out of this Geo-run facility is on a body bag. Unfortunately, this nightmare became a reality in the spring of 2020. Last May, our client, Mr. Chung-Woon An, died in the custody of Mesa Verde, a Geo-run facility. He was a 74-year-old man with grave medical vulnerabilities and disabilities. Instead of providing him the care that he needed and deserved, Geo and ICE locked him in solitary confinement. They did this in the midst of a spiraling COVID outbreak that they had no control over. Mr. An died in this Geo-run facility in ICE detention after days of begging to be released from solitary confinement. Geo Group had no incentive to do what they needed to do to protect the life of Mr. An. To do so would mean cutting into their profits and having to recognize the humanity of the people that they cage. The carceral state and Geo Group have shown the foundation of their existences to be rooted in anti-blackness. Alton, a black migrant from Jamaica who was apprehended in a racially motivated arrest, was a leader of these hunger strikes that my colleague Daisy speaks of in Mesa Verde. In the midst of the resistance inside, Geo officials moved Alton, one of the 2 black migrants in their custody, into a booking cell. In the cell, he had no bed, he was deprived of his religious diet, and he had no contact with other human beings. He was then moved into solitary confinement for weeks. When we demanded answers from ICE and Geo about the targeting of a black migrant in their custody, they had conflicting and insufficient answers. In the face of extreme repression, in spite of Geo's attempts to silence him, Alton, much like Malik, has become a powerful advocate for decarceration and the abolition of all prisons, private and public. Mesa Verde leaders, the family of Mr. An, Alton and Malik, they've all been so brave in speaking out against these violations by Geo Group. And here we are today to show solidarity with them and call out Geo and demand that they free our community members. Let them know that we won't stop until we abolish for-profit prisons in California and cages as a whole in this country. We're here showing up in this fight because nobody's got our communities like our communities. Free Malik! Thank you.
All right, next up, we have Nick Terenzi of Critical Resistance, who are doing great work in political education, shutting down jails in San Francisco, and constant communication to those on the inside. Big up for Nick.
What's the call? You say free them all. What's the call? Free them all. What's the call? Free them all. What's the call? Free them all. Hello, comrades. My name is Nick, and I'm a member of Critical Resistance, and we are proud to be here in solidarity as an organization dedicated to abolishing the prison industrial complex. We are here to stand in solidarity against the continued criminalization and persecution of Malik Washington by the Geo Group and the Bureau of Prisons. We demand Malik is set free now and all cages be dismantled. We want to be clear that Geo Group and the state of California are targeting Malik to silence his work and contributions as a journalist. The attack on the editor of the Bayview newspaper, a historic black institution, is a direct attack on our community's self-determination. And we must protect the continued legacy of black journalists and freedom fighters. 111 Taylor prevents Malik from being in and working for the community. We know that the state uses cages, locked facilities, policing, and surveillance as tactics to erode our community capacity and strength. Geo Group colludes with the state to cage our immigrant family. As we know, targeting criminalized migrants allows corporations to exploit communities more effectively. Policing and cages are used to lock certain people out of the economy and suppress wages for workers, which benefits the corporations. The PIC wants to also keep currently and formerly incarcerated folks from fighting alongside and in their communities. Their learned experiences of fighting for liberation under the conditions of caging brings great knowledge and strength to our collective fight for self-determination. Geo Group extends the life of the PIC after incarceration, and we are seeing this through 111 Taylor House. Through 111 Taylor House's actions on the folks forced to be in the unsafe conditions right here and limiting their movement. A locked facility is a locked facility. We do not want cages by another name. Policing, cages, and surveillance do not keep us safe. And during the global pandemic, it has become even more apparent what we need to keep us safe. We must break down the PIC and continue to fight and gain the material needs we see are crucial to our community's survival and safety. We need full, supportive housing, healthcare, education, and community-based resources now. Free Malik and free all political prisoners. What's the call? What's the call? What's the call? Thank you.
All right, next up, we have Tiny, Lisa, aka Tiny from Poor Magazine. This is one of the most tireless women I know. Honestly, I don't know literally when you get any rest. This is a woman on the front lines every damn day. Big up for Tiny from Poor Magazine.
Cages for sages. Can I get a witness? Cages for sages. Can I repeat after me? Cages for sages. So we're standing in front of the cage, family. Okay, let's get it clear. That's a soft cage, right? But it's the same motherfucking cage as the one they have on these false borders with our indigenous babies who happen to be born on the other side of the false fucking colonizer border. But lest you think this is not a cage, let me tell you about another cage. It's called the cage where they put houseless people like me. Right down here, across from Shitty Hall, in the so-called conscious, occupied Yalamu, San Francisco gentrification city. Their big idea, their big dream, is to put houseless people in outdoor cages. Now, if you think I'm exaggerating, just walk downtown a couple blocks. This poverty scholar, I was a poverty scholar, that houseless mama, that houseless daughter. I'm a poverty scholar. All those people you don't want to see, never want to be, look away from me. What you gonna do, arrest me? We're in your city, Geo Group. But there's big blood-stained colonial dollars to be made on the caging of people. Not the housing of people. Let's get it not twisted here. But the caging of people. And this is happening in real time. The beautiful model was created in St. Petersburg, Florida. That's occupied Seminole territory, where they have an outdoor cage for unhoused people that you check in at 7 o'clock at night and you do not check out until 7 a.m. That's what this mayor has modeled her big idea after, family. So, as we stand in front of the cages for sages, let's connect the dots. How can there ever be anyone free until we free Mama Earth? Can I get a witness? Free Mama Earth! Because until we unsell her, as we say at Poor Magazine, we will all be engaged in that colonial capitalist lie called rent. And so I encourage you to walk with us and walk with the beautiful San Francisco Bayview Black newspaper and walk with Malik in a move of freedom from all these cages. And as we know, our brothers and sisters over in occupied Uchin, that's Berkeley right now, are taking over People's Park so they can build more of their dorm industrial complex, fake ass housing that isn't permanent. And so they're moving unhoused residents out of there. They're moving and evicting 112 black and brown disabled elders out of a building in Berkeley so they can have more of their fake dorm housing. So I ask you, everybody, join us on May 5th. Yeah, I did say May 5th, not for a fake fetishizing party where we wear fake war bonnets of people, but for another stolen land hoarded resources tour in occupied Uchin. Join us, people, because Brother Malik is being nicked for talking at that stolen land hoarded resources tour in front of UC Hastings. Let's not get it twisted. Why? Because he was resisting capitalism. So I refinish cages for sages! Cages for sages! Free Malik! Free Mama Earth! And free the land!
Get the fuck out of California, Geo! And for all of you who are working inside the facility right now that can hear us, how does it feel every time you write someone up and sell your fucking soul? How does that feel? How do you sleep at night when you have people shaking in their boots just to get back within 1 minute of their past? How does it feel to write someone up for escape, for attending a social justice issue that is part of their job? I really don't know how you sleep at night, but I want you to think about that every time you do some bullshit discipline in this facility for people who are trying to move on with their lives. We hold you responsible for that. We hold you to moral high ground, and we know that you are failing people who are just trying to get back and make it in this society. Let them go! 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 That almost feels like we could just climb up these fire escapes right now. Start ripping in these windows, but instead, we're going to invite up Judy Greenspan from the Workers' World Party, representing the Prison Solidarity Committee.
We want to shut this place down. We do not. This should be low-income housing. This can be either transitional or low-income housing. It should not be a Federal Bureau of Prison halfway house that's really a lockdown facility where people have to show up for count. People have their cell phones taken away. This is a racist institution, and it's part of the criminal legal system in this country, which is why we in the Prisoners' Solidarity Committee say it's time to abolish the prisons, to abolish the criminal legal system in this country, so that none of our brothers, sisters, and siblings need to be oppressed anymore. It's time for us to do that. It's time for us to clearly say it. And we cannot let Geo Group, divest of private prisons, but keep running ICE detention centers because President Biden's order is only for private prisons. He is not shutting down the detention centers. We need to shut down the detention centers. This is a struggle against racism. This is a struggle for the voice of a black journalist, similar to why we are fighting to free Mumia Abu-Jamal, who is in prison with COVID and is himself a black journalist, and why people around the country are rallying to support the Alabama Amazon workers who are fighting for a union, because it's all part of the same system. Alabama prisoners have been on strike. They've been issuing support for the black Alabama Amazon workers fighting for a union. We need to unite. I want to invite you to a protest this Friday, 12 noon, at the offices of Morgan Lewis. Morgan Lewis is the law firm that was hired by Amazon to bust the union drive in Alabama. They have an office at 1 Market Street. So we're going to tell Morgan Lewis, union busting is disgusting. It's racist. It's disgusting. It's the same system that is oppressing Malik and keeping our brothers, sisters, and siblings imprisoned at 111 Taylor Street. We need to abolish not only the prison system, but we need to abolish capitalism and usher in a system that's going to care for people's needs. Thank you. Join us Friday, March 12th. 12 noon, 1 Market Street.
All right, next up, we have Steven Zeltzer from Work Week Radio. Big up for Steven Zeltzer.
Thank you, brothers and sisters. And I want to say that what we're fighting for is not just Malik as a journalist. We're fighting for the SF Bayview, because many of the stories about hanging nooses in workplaces came about as a result of the SF Bayview breaking the information blockade. They let people know in San Francisco and around the world what's going on here. And interestingly enough, the corporate media, I'm a member of the Pacific Media Workers Guild, there's no corporate media. I guess the newspapers don't really care and the TVs don't care about the case of Malik Washington. Why is that? Why aren't they here covering this? Because they're controlled by the capitalists. The capitalists who are destroying San Francisco and gentrifying and destroying working people. What's involved in this is really slave labor. And what we're talking about is a slave system. They want slavery. They want these prisoners. The prisoners, they want them to be slave workers. That is what's going on here. We have to say, this system is rotten. This system has no future for the people of this country. There are 27 billionaires in San Francisco, and people are dying right now in the streets of San Francisco. What kind of system is that? We say this company, we want to talk about this company. Gavin Newsom and the OSHA should be in here because they're violating the OSHA laws. People are getting COVID and they're not reporting it. Where is the government? Where is the government defending these prisoners who are getting COVID? They're not here. Why? Because they're controlled by these corporations. What we say is the district attorney should be here. He should be prosecuting and jailing Geo. That's where they belong. The real prisoners belong in jail. They're running Geo. They're running the companies in this country. Those are the prisoners in this country. But they're not doing it. And the reason is the Democrats and Republicans are the same party. They represent the same billionaires. We need a working class party that's going to represent people and put the real criminals in jail and stop this terrorism, because that is what's going on. There's terrorism and genocide. It's the black and brown people who are dying from lack of protection. And it's conscious by this government. We have to put an end to it. We have to organize. We have to defend the SF Bayview. We have to demand that Malik be freed and these prisoners be freed, because the real criminals belong in jail, not the people at 111 Taylor. Thank you, brothers and sisters.
Next up, we have Lisa Strawn, who recently came out of San Quentin after having survived COVID, and we are so grateful for her activism today. She is busy preparing folks to film her, so I will continue to fill up this space with a little chant. Free Malik! Free Malik! Free Malik! Free Malik! Free Malik and free them all! Free Malik and free them all! Free Malik and free them all!
Hello, everybody. I'm Lisa. Ooh, this is really difficult. I'm a trans woman, and I spent 25 years in prison. I was released from San Quentin in July, released with COVID-19 as well. So it's been really horrific. I, too, also was a part of Geo Health Right 360. And when I arrived at the program in Treasure Island, it's called FOTEP. They offered me nothing as a trans person or a female, period. They offered me nothing. So therefore, the program decided that it was a failure, and they told me this: Lisa, we failed you, so we have to step you down and put you in another program. Since this has shut down, it's been even worse, because then they put me in another program and they still offered me nothing. The manager was covering so many things up that were going on inside the house that we were reporting. We actually had to call the police on one of the women in the house because she was drinking and she was doing drugs. You can't do that when you're on parole. I've been clean and sober for 26 fucking years, and I don't need to be around somebody who's doing that. But that's not really the big issue. The big issue is there was no accountability for anything in that program. Once again, everything in Geo and health, this includes Health Right 360, because I don't give a shit about them either. I'm pretty well, you guys better look me up on Facebook, because I'm pretty well known, trust me. And so this entire story just kept going on and on and on. In the month of December, our mail we got no mail. In prison, I'd get Christmas cards from a lot of these people here. I would get 30 to 40 Christmas cards. We got no mail for the whole month of December. It was either lost or stolen. There was no accountability for that. When I started reporting things, Geo was contacting me weekly and wanted to know what was going on. They did nothing. They did nothing to help me as a person. I have struggled every fucking day since I've been out of prison. I do have a job on my own. I got an apartment on my own because I'm a very smart, put-together person. But don't fuck with me either, because that's what Geo has done, and you fuck with the wrong bitch. But, I'm really in support with Malik, because Malik is a friend, Nube is a friend. These are new friends for me. And so, I'm just here to tell everybody that, yeah, I'm a success story, but I'm a success story on my own. And we have people in prison who need to be released. There are 6,000 more people that can be released safely out here to the streets. I'm a good person. I've done the most amazing things in prison and out of prison. I'm the person who did the CARES Act stimulus check for 900,000 inmates. I'm the Lisa Strawn on that lawsuit. So I'm here to say I'm not going to go down without a fight with Geo and Health Right, because they can't do anything to me. I had freedom of speech in prison because this bitch has a big mouth. She didn't care. I lived in men's prison for 25 years. They didn't disrespect me in here. They're not going to disrespect me out here.
That is an activist and an artist. Y'all on the inside, you can go find his music on Spotify. Just look up Abolish It. All right, so big round of applause for California Prison Focus and Cage Universal's Executive Director, Minister King X.
All my comrades in there, free Malik. All my comrades in there, keep your heads up. This is what I want to say though, right? I remember when I first came home and I seen Nube and I seen the other people that's working in California Prison Focus, and I always, now listen, these two people right here, Willie and Mary Ratcliffe, when I was inside that newspaper, Bayview kept us alive. When I didn't get a letter and I got a Bayview or a Prison Focus, that was the heartbeat. That's the drum, that's the heart drum of the prison industrial slave complex to keep us alive, to know that we fighting against that imperialism inside. No, there is no justice under capitalism. So I just want to say this little part to y'all, and this comes from my comrade inside, Louis Powell. And this is the reason why we fighting against this cultural genocide. It's crazy because they don't look at us as humans. Even when we come out here, we have to fight for our right to vote. That's crazy. You come out here, you paying taxes inside, which y'all don't know, we pay taxes for commissary. And then we come out here, we have to fight for our right to vote. So they look at us less than human.
So that's what's going on right now. They don't even see these comrades up in here as human. So they treating them less than. So I'm going to say this little piece right here, and we're going to get a little understanding on what Malik is going through. Alright, all African Americans born after the year of 1865 into the 21st century were born into a historical miscarriage with the ratifying of the 13th, 14th, and the 15th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. A political constitution that still defined those who previous conditions, y'all gotta work with me, whose previous conditions was servitude, ex-slave, and their offsprings as 3/5 humans. Our ancestors transitioned from American slaves to American political prisoners. It was without the African American consent that we became under the control of the U.S. Constitution, which constitute us as being political prisoners. Now it's crazy because, you know, I think of all the brothers and sisters in San Quentin that was subjected to COVID. All the sisters, brothers and sisters that's in the county jail in Santa Rita that was just subjected to COVID. And now when you get brothers like Malik, he exposed what's going on behind these walls, whether it's inside and out, because Malik fighting didn't just start out here. He was fighting behind the walls. He was fighting with Free Alabama movement to abolish the 13th Amendment. So I just want to say, not today, we don't stop. Not today, we start. I just want to say this to say, we can't stop and we won't stop. Until they free Malik, until they free them all. We can't stop and we won't stop. We got to liberate our elders, and we demand a strategic community release board. We want to take the power out of these imperialist hands. We want to take the power out of their hands because, again, there is no justice under capitalism. Free them all.
He was just walking by, heard what this protest was about. Frank Harris came up and said, "Can I say something?" He just did some time inside St. Clair Maximum Security Prison in Alabama, 13 years, and he's got a lot to say. So let's give a big up to our brother.
How everyone doing today? My name is Frank Harris. Something just touched me. I was just walking, and I stay in a hotel right here, and they were talking about the inmates, this and that. I'm from Alabama, and I just did 13 years in Alabama, St. Clair Maximum Security Prison. And he went to talking about Alabama prison. You know, I said, let me get up on the microphone, but I just don't like a lot of stuff going on. I was raised in the church, and I was raised off good and evil, and everybody created equal. And ain't nobody perfect in life, you know. Ain't nobody perfect. Folk commit sins, and I look at it like this, you know. Folks need another chance. You feel me? Everybody need another chance. It ain't no ill ends or blood between it. You know what I mean? It ain't no sin worse than the next sin. Give everybody another chance. Everybody, you know what I mean? Somebody crazy, and they know they crazy or whatever, but I just don't like a lot of this stuff going on. We men, and God created us to go through the struggle, and that's just what we gotta be, you feel me? As men, from a man to another man, we just gotta go through the struggle, keep our head up, and that's what it is.
Courtney, thank you. And really, again, this is a collective. We do this together. This is the power of the people, okay? We cannot do this without each other. What I want to close out with, that's really important. We do have Mary and Willie Ratcliffe here. They've been holding down this newspaper. This newspaper is 45 years old. They together have been holding it down for 30 of those years. We just put out the last newspaper. I am so honored to be a part of this beautiful platform. This is the platform for the community. Okay, it's their voices that are in here. The voices of the prisoners are in here. So when we're here together talking about Malik's First Amendment rights being violated, know that that is a direct violation also and emblematic of the violations of freedom of the press This is the SF Bayview. They are trying to shut this down by shutting Malik down. When they're trying to shut his voice down, they are trying to shut down the voices of the people that come through this community newspaper, which is nationwide. We are not going to allow our voices to be silenced. We are going to make sure that our voices are heard, that we care for each other, because Geo's not going to do it. The prison industrial complex isn't going to do it. We are going to do it. It is us here that are going to do this. The San Francisco Bayview National Black newspaper must continue, because if it doesn't, we are relenting our voices. We are relenting our collective power to live the way that we want, and that is in freedom. Self-determined. Malik Washington, I love you. San Francisco Bayview community, I love you. Support this newspaper, please. Go to our website, sfbayview.com.